what's up guys? Professional outdoor photographer David Johnston here for Outdoor Photography Guide. And in this video, I want to share 3 tips for really dynamic, abstract outdoor photos. There's so much pressure put on outdoor photographers to get to a location and shoot that money shot, that grand landscape shot with like crazy color in the sky. All that is good and well. But there's so much more to be photographed outside of those images. And it's really fun to get out and shoot abstract images because it helps you as the photographer to improve your creative vision in outdoor photography. Now, the #1 tip, and we'll start off with this bonus tip, is just look around you. Nature is filled with weird stuff that you can photograph using the knowledge that you have of your camera settings, your lens selection. All those things goes into what we're going to be focusing on in these 3 tips today. So look around you whenever you get out in nature, take it slow, take in all the details that are surrounding you. Let's get to these 3 tips though. Tip #1 is using long exposures in outdoor photography, but doing so with detail and like a telephoto lens. You can also use any kind of lens you want. I've just always found that it's easier for me with telephoto lenses to lengthen my exposure and create a really good abstract image. And we're talking about those images with like blurred effects to them. And what I like to do with these is find consistent lines and hard lines in nature with a lot of color going on around those lines. So trees and fall are a great option for you to do that. And really all you have to do this is set your camera to something like 1 second, a half a second, something like an f/14, a really small aperture value, and then like ISO 100. We're really trying to lengthen that exposure speed and focus on that to do this. And I know I always handheld these because you may be thinking, how are you going to handhold something at 1 second or a half a second exposure? To do this, what we do is before we take the image, we're really framing up our shot, seeing how it looks from top to bottom. And we're basically just going to start from the top and come all the way down. And we're gonna follow that flow, that pathway that I just showed you of starting up here, shooting the image, and tracking all the way down. That's gonna give you those linear movement motions throughout your image, and it creates a lot of color and detail around those hard edge tree trunks to create some really abstract, dynamic outdoor photographs. Let's get to #2 on the list. #2 on the list is actually really easy to do. Like I said before, you just have to look around you to find other things to shoot in outdoor photography besides those grand landscapes. We have just a really small pond. This is a pond you can find anywhere in the world, but we have tons of fall color surrounding it. And what I like to do with my fall color is really get out and find different reflections in the color and finding areas of sunlight and shadow that I can use to really accentuate that. So what we have here is working with the fall color, using something again like a half a second exposure to lengthen that up and really smooth out the surface of the water so that we can create, you know, movement versus still, or reflections in the water around still objects. You can do this with anything like stumps in the river or waterway. You can do this with like this fall reflections on the surface of the water. Anything you want to do to feature up with this type of photography and really playing around with light. I would encourage you to wait at a location for a long period of time and seeing what light does to a landscape when you're getting out and photographing that. So the last thing to mention in creating some abstract images that are dynamic for your viewer is using a bird's eye view of a location. This doesn't have to be a drone. Now I'm using a drone for this type of shot because I'm trying to get all the fall color that's in the area. I can do this with anything like the pond that we were just talking about and using those reflection type of abstract shots. Or we can send the drone up and get a bird's eye view of that location and pair color, pair light and contrast together. You know, color versus negative space. The pond acts as a negative space element. Or what we can also do, and what I like to do, especially in fall and in different seasons when you have a lot of color in the trees and forests, what I like to do is just fly around and see if I can find any patches of different colors, see if I can find details and designs in the trees, and using those colors and details in the trees to pair up different things within the image. This will allow me to create an abstract look. And abstract doesn't have to be long exposures and blurred lines or anything like that. It can be anything or any type of photography that makes people go, well, wait, what is that? What am I looking at here? How did you get that shot? How'd you get that perspective? That's an abstract shot. Even if you aren't around objects like a forest, you can still go out in your hometown, photograph like streets from the sky if you have a drone, or if you don't have a drone, you can easily get out in nature and photograph stuff straight down at a bird's eye view and create a really interesting concept of outdoors, of nature, and the designs that nature comes up with. This can be things like ice. This can be things like details in sand dunes. You know, I went out to Colorado in Great Sand Dune National Park and had a field day photographing abstract scenes using just my telephoto lens. I spent hours out there getting sunburned, but it was so much fun to try dynamic abstract scenes. So keep these things in mind. Don't just get to a location and photograph the overall grand landscape. Yeah, you can get there and photograph that, but what you also need to do is after that, you watch the light change, you watch things going on, and then you whittle your composition down to the smallest minute abstract details within nature because they're chock full of them. For now, I'm gonna get this drone out of the air because my battery's going dead. Until next time, try out these features and try out these abstract scenes in your own outdoor photography because it's really going to pay dividends and improve your creative vision as an outdoor photographer.